convinced that most people pack their personal items completely wrong, and in this video, I am going to show you a foolproof method for packing the perfect personal item bag every single time, to ensure we are minimizing stress as much as possible. Now, in case you're new here, hi, I'm Christina from happytowander.com, and this is my packing channel that is 100% dedicated to tried and true packing tips and gear reviews. So be sure to like and subscribe if that sounds like your kind of thing. And be sure to stick around until the end for a free personal item packing checklist. Now let's move on to step 1, which is to pick your bag. Naturally, what you should be starting with is researching the actual dimensions of the personal item or underseat bag that you are allowed to bring on your flight. Just like with carry-on items, unfortunately, the restrictions do differ depending on which airline you're flying with, so make sure you are double checking because odds are it's not going to be the same as the last flight you took. Now, most of the time, people do not take full advantage of their personal item allowance, which I think is such a shame. So instead of just bringing a tiny bag, what I would really recommend is maxing out your personal item allowance as much as you possibly can, bearing in mind as well that personal items do tend to be weighed and sized a lot less often than carry-on items. So a lot of the time you can maybe bend the rules by a few centimeters, especially if you don't pack it completely full, because then you can kind of squish it into the sizer if you absolutely need to. Now, if you have a personal item setup that you were super geeked about, please let me know in the comments because A, I'm nosy, and B, I always love hearing recommendations. But in this video, I am going to be showcasing my method using this packing system from TomTalk, the sponsors of this week's video. So what we have here is the 28-liter Navigator T66 bag, as well as the TO2 packing cubes, which fit inside perfectly. Now, when choosing the perfect personal item, here are a few of the things that I tend to look out for. The first is hands-free capability. Since I always have a carry-on suitcase as well, generally I'm going to be prioritizing a backpack like this over a crossbody or a duffel. It is always nice, of course, to also have the option to slide it over your suitcase handle as well, like this one, if you need to give your back a break. Another key feature for me is something with a soft exterior rather than something with a hard shell, since you will very likely have to squeeze this into different situations, whether that's the sizer or more likely underneath the seat in front of you. This Navigator 66 bag, for instance, is made out of a ripstop material that is resistant to wear and tear while still being squishable, and it also has these compression straps on the side as well that allow you to make the bag look a lot smaller as needed, so long as you're not filling it too full. And you'll of course want something with a lot of compartments. This is pretty self-explanatory because of course when you travel, you want to be as organized as humanly possible. Having a separate laptop compartment like this one is super useful. I also really like it when there are separate compartments on the side as well for things like a water bottle or sunglasses, things that you're gonna want to have easily at hand. And what's especially cool about this backpack in particular is it does actually open up clamshell style like a suitcase, which makes it so much easier for you to grab what you need rather than digging around. And it makes things way smoother at airport security too if your bag gets searched, which honestly I feel like these days is happening way more often with those fancy new scanners. Let me know in the comments if that has been your experience as well. All right, now once you've decided on the perfect personal item bag that ideally checks all those boxes I mentioned, it's time to move on to step 2, which is to decide and organize what's going in your bag. These days, unfortunately, airlines are getting stingier and stingier, and the only bag that is absolutely guaranteed to make it on board with you is your personal item underseat bag. Bags are getting gate checked constantly, and it's incredibly frustrating, but it's a lot less frustrating if you kind of prepare with that in mind, assuming that your bag is going to get checked, so that you ensure all your most valuable items, all your essentials are in your personal item no matter what. Now, I know that packing cubes aren't often thought of as a must-have for personal items, and truth be told, I wasn't really using them for my personal item until super recently, but it's actually so nice having everything so well organized. Especially if you follow the system that I'm about to introduce, which I will show off using these TO2 packing cubes from TomTalk, which are super lightweight, machine washable, and also odor resistant. Now, I would categorize my usual personal item goodies into the following categories. So first off, my tech items, so things like my laptop, my baby, my e-reader and iPad, as well as my camera and camera gear, and any extra chargers. Now the laptop and iPad I can actually put into the dedicated compartment here, so we can get those squared away right off the bat. And then my camera and tech stuff I'm actually going to be putting into this 8-liter cube because it actually has 2 separate compartments that are meant for dirty and clean clothes, but in this instance I'm using it for tech, so it's a versatile piece. So I'm going to put my camera into one part of the compartment, and also this little to take dust out of your camera lens, which is very, very handy. And then that leaves this bottom portion, which again is usually used as a clothes divider, but I'm going to put different chargers and stuff in here. so that it stays a little bit more organized and they're not all kind of just floating around in the same space. So I also have my microphone. And then that way all my tech stuff is just in one cube, which is really, really great. The next category of stuff would be what I deem to be my in-flight essentials. So things like my headphones, any moisturizer and lip product, obviously snacks, and things like a sleep mask if you need one, and gum. And these are items I'm going to be putting in this 3-liter pouch just because it's really small and it can fit very conveniently in that seat pocket in front of you. There we go. So cute. And finally, any extra layers or clothing that you're going to be bringing on the plane. I've got a ton here just to show you how much you can fit in this little backpack. And I'm going to be putting all this in the 10-liter compression cube, which is so cool because the capacity is actually 15 liters, but it just squeezes everything in with the dual zipper system. Look at how much room there is. All right, so ideally what you're going to want to pack are not just maybe warmer layers, like in case you get cold on the plane, but at the very least, what I would pack is a backup outfit just in case, again, your bag gets gate checked and the bag doesn't arrive, or for some reason you're going to be stranded with just your personal item. Ideally, you do want at least one backup outfit just in case your bag gets lost. But if you have space for it like I do, I would recommend bringing a few more layers because why not? I like to pack merino wool clothing because it gives me peace of mind that I can just wear it over and over if my other clothes get lost. And again, if you have space, like I clearly do, then you can also add in some socks, underwear, undergarments, things like that, just in case, because you're going to need extra of those as well. All right, so as you can see, this cube looks pretty big, but with the magic of the double zipper system, just watch how it squishes. Boom, like magic, it's all nice, tight, and compressed. So now we have all our cubes loaded and ready to go. Aren't they looking so cute? I'll be leaving links to all these items in the description, by the way, along with a discount code in case you want to take a look. Now, before we move on, do remember that when you are packing your personal item, something else you should research are things that cannot go in the hold. Because there are certain items that are not allowed to be in your checked bags, period. Things like portable chargers and items with certain lithium-ion batteries. A lot of the time, people forget about these rules, especially when their carry-on item is gate checked unexpectedly. So you want to make sure you include these items in your personal item packing list because otherwise you could be in trouble. So this is why I always pack my hair straightener and also my power bank in my personal item as well. All right, now we're on to step 3, which is to fill your bag. And trust me, this part is super easy because you've already done this. It's basically just playing Tetris at this point. So usually what I would advise is packing from bottom to top, what you are least likely to use at the airport at the bottom, leading up to what you are most likely to use at the airport or on the plane at the top. So in other words, you should be putting electronics or in-flight essentials at the top of your bag so that it's easily reachable, and things like emergency outfits on the bottom. Granted, if you have a clamshell bag like this, that is less of a concern, but it's still kind of a good practice to get into, making sure anything that you're probably going to be using on the plane or at the airport, making sure it's at the very top. So let's get these cubes in. Remember, these cubes are designed to go perfectly in this bag, so that's going to make our lives super easy. And assuming that you don't fill these too full, you can actually fit all 3 of these inside. And don't forget, if you're including toiletries in your personal item as well, these should also go at the top. Although fewer and fewer airports are making you take liquids out, but you never know. It's good to have them at the top, or at least easily accessible. And boom, look at that, how neat. Now, after that, you might be tempted to think we're done. But there are still a few critical steps to check off here, starting with our next step, which is to audit for size and weight. First, very important, you should double check that you're able to zip everything up with ease. As I've already shown, that is not an issue. The truth is you're going to be constantly zipping and unzipping your bag on a travel day, so if you can't do it super easily, then that's unfortunately your sign to take a few items out. Second, do give it a little pat down for squishiness. Make sure you do have enough space that if you had to put it into a sizer or squish it into a particularly small under-seat space, that you're able to do it. So give it a nice little squeeze, see that there is some give, which seems like there is. And if you have compression straps on your bag like this one does, then definitely make use of them as much as possible to make your bag squeeze into those tight spaces. Oh, I'm just realizing I forgot to put the straightener in. But just to prove to you that it does fit, I'm gonna throw it in here at the top. There we go. Now, next step, if your airline is strict, and if you're not sure if they're strict, then a really easy trick is to just Google airline personal item check Reddit. And trust me, if this is an airline that frequently checks the size of your personal item, people on Reddit will have been complaining about it for years. If after that research, you have a very strong feeling that they are going to actually weigh your personal item, which again is not super common, but isn't unheard of, then you should make sure you weigh your bag as well to see if it's under the limit. And if it's not, then you unfortunately do have to remove a few items. Now, if you're really stressed about your personal item weight and you are packing with just a personal item, let's say you're flying with a budget airline, then a really good tip that I learned from one of you in the comments is actually from Jerry, or more accurately, Jerry's wife, who says that his wife has the best travel hack. Visiting her parents, she would not pack clothes. Instead, she would visit the local secondhand store, purchase what she needed, and donated them back when she returned. If she found something she really liked, she kept it. Honestly, this is a really fun hack that I've not heard of before, and I do enjoy a good thrift haul. So if you have time to spare and you do think of thrifting as like a fun cultural experience, that might be something to consider, especially if you're traveling with just a backpack and you think that the weight limit is actually going to be enforced. Be sure to let me know in the comments if you have any other fun tips like that, because I love learning from you guys. I have a whole note and everything. Now, finally, something I would really recommend is actually picking the bag up, putting it on your back, and ideally going for a walk. I know that sounds like overkill, but a lot of the time people don't realize how long they actually have to walk with their personal item in the airport. The truth is you could be walking for 30 minutes or more, or at least standing in line for that long. So you want to make sure that this is a bag that fits comfortably on your back, even if it's going to be for a while. Honestly, while doing this test, you are probably going to realize why I recommend a backpack over a duffel or crossbody, because trust me, you do not want to be walking through an airport with a super heavy duffel or a crossbody just weighing you down on one side, because after a while you are going to want to cry. Plus, don't forget, you aren't going to just be bringing this bag around the airport. This is a bag that's going to be with you the entire day from your home to your accommodation. So you want to make sure it sits comfortably on your back. And if not, you're going to have to remove a few items. All right, now let's move on to our last step, which is additional safety and security measures. This is the step that most of you are going to skip because you're going to think, well, it's my personal item. It's going to be in front of me the entire time. What's the harm? Well, the truth is, unfortunately, it happens to people all the time that they will let their guard down. They'll put down their backpack in a public place, even at the airport after they've arrived, and it can get stolen. The odds of that happening aren't crazy high, but at the end of the day, I do fully believe in planning for a worst case scenario. So be sure to follow these steps if you want to be as prepared as you possibly can. First off, I make sure I have an air tag or some kind of location tracker in the bag. Something I really like about this bag is that there's this little pocket here that's perfect for passports, wallets, and location tags. And so that just gives you peace of mind because in case the bag gets stolen, then at least you'll be able to figure out where it is. For the same reason, I'll often take a little card. Ideally, it'd be laminated with my contact information, and I slip it inside the bag as well. See, the thing is, a lot of the time when people steal things like backpacks, what they'll do is they'll ransack it for valuables, cash, things like that, and then they'll just discard the bag. So sometimes Good Samaritans will happen upon it, and if you have your contact information inside, then that's going to help a kind stranger reunite you with your bag just in case. Again, odds of this happening, not super high, but you know what? You never know, and it costs you nothing and takes up no space to just have your contact details inside, so might as well. All right, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to check out this link here for that free personal item packing list, and like and subscribe for more packing videos just like this one. I'll see you next time. Bye!